The massive alien fleet appears above Earth's major cities without warning. The Vorthan Empire, rulers of 17 star systems, had expected another quick conquest. Their sleek silver ships hover over New York, London, Tokyo, and Mumbai, casting shadows that stretch for miles. Admiral Rex leads Earth's hastily assembled defense council in an underground bunker beneath Colorado. The aliens broadcast their surrender demand in perfect English. Submit now or face total destruction. You have 6 Earth rotations. The Vorthan commander, General Kane, studies Earth from his flagship. His species had conquered dozens of worlds using the same strategy. Overwhelming force, followed by swift surrender. Most civilizations gave up after seeing their cities burned. Earth should be no different, but something strange happens. Instead of panic, humans begin organizing. Amateur radio operators coordinate across continents. Farmers hide grain supplies. Factory workers start modifying equipment. Children are evacuated to underground shelters that didn't exist a week ago. Captain Blake, a former Marine turned engineer, watches the alien ships through binoculars. They're just floating there, he tells his team. No patrols, no ground scouts. They think we're already beaten. Meanwhile, Dr. Emily Ross analyzes intercepted alien communications from a makeshift laboratory. The Vorthans use quantum encryption, but human hackers are already finding patterns. They're talking about soft targets and expected compliance. She reports to Admiral Rex. The first alien ultimatum passes. Instead of surrender, Earth's response comes from an unexpected source, a teenager named Jake who hacks into every communication satellite simultaneously. His message is simple: come and take it. General Kane is puzzled. His intelligence reports show humans as a divided species constantly fighting each other, yet they seem unified now. He decides to demonstrate Vorthan power by destroying an unimportant city to encourage surrender. He chooses Detroit. The energy beam cuts through the atmosphere, but instead of hitting buildings, it strikes empty lots. The entire city had been evacuated in 36 hours, something Vorthan computers calculated as impossible for such a primitive species. As night falls, human activity increases instead of decreasing. Radio chatter fills the airwaves in dozens of languages, but all saying similar things. They made their move. Now we make ours. The Vorthans had studied human history and dismissed it as endless tribal warfare. They failed to understand one crucial detail. Humans only fight each other when there's no external threat. When something threatens all of humanity, those same tribal instincts turn outward. General Kane expects surrender after Detroit's destruction. Instead, he receives reports of increased human activity. Thermal scans show people moving equipment, but his sensors can't identify what kind. The first human attack comes at dawn, and it's nothing the Vorthans anticipated. Instead of military strikes against the heavily shielded ships, humans target something else entirely: the alien communication relay satellites. Tom, a satellite technician from Texas, leads a team using modified amateur radio equipment to jam Vorthan frequencies. They rely on quantum entanglement for communication, he explains to his team. But quantum systems are sensitive. Flood them with enough random signals, and they'll collapse. Within hours, the alien fleet loses coordination. Ships that moved in perfect formation begin drifting slightly out of sync. General Kane orders his communication officers to compensate, but they're fighting thousands of human transmitters broadcasting on every frequency. The second wave of attacks targets Vorthan psychology rather than technology. Dr. Ross had discovered something interesting in the intercepted communications. The aliens have never fought an enemy that fought back with creativity rather than raw force. Groups of humans begin what they call confusion tactics. In major cities, They use mirrors and lights to create false heat signatures. Vorthen targeting systems, designed to identify large military formations, become overwhelmed by thousands of small, randomly moving targets. Captain Blake leads a team. In modified crop dusters, planes too small and slow for alien sensors to consider threats. They don't carry weapons, but instead drop millions of reflective strips, creating a metallic cloud that blinds Vorthen's scanning equipment. But the most effective human strategy involves their greatest strength, adaptability. While Vorthen military doctrine requires approval from command for any tactical changes, human groups modify their approaches in real time. A group of teenagers in Seoul uses consumer drones with LED lights to spell out messages visible from space. But these aren't surrender pleas. They're coordinates for where humans want the aliens to attack next. Every target they indicate is either empty or contains harmless materials that create spectacular but meaningless explosions. General Kane grows frustrated. His energy weapons work perfectly, destroying everything they hit. But humans keep moving their important assets before attacks arrive. It's as if they can predict Vorthen's strategy. The truth is simpler. They can. Retired military strategist Colonel Davis explains it to Admiral Rex. They're fighting the last war. Every alien victory probably followed the same pattern. Show up, make threats, destroy something important, accept surrender. They don't know how to handle an enemy that refuses to play by those rules. As the second day ends, Vorthen casualties remain zero, but their fuel supplies are dropping faster than expected. Every missed target forces them to recalibrate and fire again. Humans are making the aliens waste resources without losing anything. Critical themselves, the most unsettling development for General Kane comes from his intelligence officers. They report that human communications show no signs of central coordination, yet human actions remain remarkably synchronized. How can a species coordinate so effectively without a command structure? The answer lies in something Vorthens don't. Understand human culture. Across the globe, people are sharing information through social media, amateur radio, and even graffiti. A successful tactic discovered in Australia spreads to South America within hours. Humans are learning and adapting faster than Vorthen computers can model dot as night falls on the second day. General Kane makes a fateful decision. If humans won't surrender to demonstrations of power, he'll have to use real force. Tomorrow, he'll target actual population centers. He doesn't realize that this is exactly what humans are hoping he'll do. Asterisk. General Kane decides to target London with full force. His battle computers calculate that destroying Earth's financial center will break human resistance. The Vorthens don't understand that humans had already moved everything important out of the city. What they left behind was something far more dangerous. A carefully planned surprise. Dr. Ross had spent 2 days studying Vorthen energy weapons through telescope observations. She discovered their fatal flaw. The weapons required a charging sequence that created a unique electromagnetic signature. Humans could detect when the aliens were about to fire. Captain Blake coordinates with teams across London. They've turned the empty city into a giant mirror, using every reflective surface available. Windows, metal sheets, even water-filled containers positioned on rooftops. When the Vorthen beam fires, instead of destroying buildings, it hits a carefully angled surface. The reflected energy beam shoots back toward space, striking a Vorthen escort ship. The alien vessel, not designed to handle its own weapon's power, suffers critical damage. For the first time in the war, aliens die. General Kane stares at his tactical display in shock. In 300 years of conquest, no enemy had ever turned Vorthen weapons against them. His officers scramble to understand what happened, but their computers can't process the concept of reflected energy attack. The psychological impact on Vorthen forces is immediate. Soldiers who believed they were invincible suddenly faced the possibility of death. Morale drops across the fleet as word spreads that humans destroyed a ship using alien technology. But humans are just getting started. Jake, the teenager who hacked the satellites, has been busy analyzing Vorthan computer systems. He discovers something incredible. The aliens use a centralized AI network for all ship functions. Every vessel connects to the same command system. It's like they built their entire fleet with one giant brain. Jake explains to Admiral Rex through encrypted channels. If we can confuse that brain, we can confuse all of them at once. Teams of hackers around the world begin coordinating the largest cyber attack in human history. They don't try to break Vorthan encryption. Instead, they flood the alien network. With millions of fake signals designed to look like legitimate communications, Tom leads a group of amateur radio operators in creating false emergency broadcasts in the Vorthan language. Using the translation data Dr. Ross captured, they send messages claiming human reinforcements are arriving from other star systems, that Earth has secret weapons, that the planet is actually a trap set by a more advanced species, the Vorthans. Own efficiency works against them. Their AI system automatically distributes these intelligence reports throughout the fleet before officers can verify their accuracy. Soon, Vorthan crews are preparing for threats that don't exist. Asterisk. Colonel Davis watches the alien formation begin to spread out defensively. They're repositioning to fight an enemy that isn't there, he tells his staff. We're making them beat themselves. The masterpiece of human deception comes when a group of teenagers in Mumbai uses consumer electronics to create fake spaceship signatures. They mount LED lights and radio transmitters on weather balloons, creating objects that look like approaching vessels on Vorthan sensors. General Kane finds himself fighting a ghost fleet. His long-range scanners show dozens of approaching ships. But visual confirmation reveals nothing. His weapons officers fire at empty space while real human teams continue their ground-based attacks. The breaking point comes when Captain Blake's team succeeds in their most ambitious plan. Using modified satellite dishes, they manage to intercept and rebroadcast Vorthan communication protocols to the alien fleet's computer systems. It appears that their own command ship is ordering a retreat. Half the Vorthan vessels begin moving away from Earth before General Kane can countermand the false order. The fleet's perfect coordination collapses into chaos as ships receive contradictory commands from multiple sources. As the third day ends, the Vorthans have lost 3 ships to their own reflected weapons, wasted enormous amounts of fuel firing at fake targets, and had their communication network compromised by primitive human technology. General Kane realizes he's not fighting a military force. He's fighting an entire species that treats warfare like a creative puzzle. Every solution his officers develop, humans counter with something completely unexpected. For the first time in his career, he considers the possibility that the Vorthan Empire might lose. Asterisk, by the 4th day, General Kane faces a crisis no Vorthan commander had ever encountered. His own troops are beginning to question the mission. Reports flood in from across the fleet of impossible human tactics that make no strategic sense, yet somehow work. The latest human strategy pushes Vorthan psychology beyond its breaking point. Instead of hiding, humans begin appearing everywhere. At once, Dr. Ross discovered that Vorthan sensors are designed to track large military formations, not individuals. Their computer systems literally cannot process thousands of separate small targets moving independently. It's like trying to count raindrops in a storm. Captain Blake organizes what humans call the swarm protocol. Every person with a vehicle, cars, motorcycles, bicycles, even skateboards, begins moving in seemingly random patterns around cities. From space, it looks like massive coordinated troop movements, but each unit is just one person going about daily activities. The psychological warfare intensifies when Tom's radio team discovers that Vorthons have excellent hearing but can't distinguish between human voices. They begin broadcasting conversations in alien-occupied areas, making it sound like humans are everywhere. Discussing battle plans and troop movements. Jake takes the cyber warfare to a new level by hacking into Earth's entertainment satellite networks. He starts broadcasting human movies and television shows directly to Vorthon ships. The aliens, trying to understand human psychology, become obsessed with analyzing these intelligence documents. A Vorthon intelligence officer spends hours studying an action movie, writing detailed reports about human battle tactics that are actually just special effects. Another analyzes a cooking show, concluding that humans have secret chemical weapons involving spice blends. The confusion reaches peak absurdity when Vorthon analysts begin taking human comedy shows seriously, reporting that Earth's population includes shape-shifting creatures called politicians and immortal beings called celebrities. But the most effective human tactic involves exploiting Vorthon hierarchy. Colonel Davis realizes that alien military structure requires approval from higher command for any tactical changes. Humans, meanwhile, adapt instantly to new situations. Group of farmers in Kansas demonstrates this perfectly. When Vorthon scouts approach their area, instead of fleeing, they continue normal farming activities. But they plant their crops in patterns that spell out messages visible from space, fake military codes that send Vorthon intelligence officers into analytical spirals. General Kane watches his officers struggle to interpret agricultural intelligence. His best tacticians spend days trying to decode what they believe are hidden human battle plans, not realizing they're analyzing crop rotation schedules. The breaking point comes when humans begin their most audacious strategy yet. They start inviting the aliens to participate in human culture. A group of musicians in Brazil begins broadcasting concerts directly to Vorthon ships. The aliens, trained to look for hidden military significance in everything, spend enormous computing power analyzing the tactical implications of human music. Children in schools around the world begin drawing pictures of aliens and humans playing together, then holding them up for the ship's cameras to see. Vorthon psychologists, trying to understand human propaganda techniques, become genuinely confused by the concept of children who aren't afraid. The most devastating blow to Vorthon morale comes from an unexpected source: human humor. Jake manages to hack into the alien communication network and starts inserting human jokes into official military transmissions. Vorthon officers, equipped with perfect translation technology, receive formal tactical reports that suddenly include puns, knock-knock jokes, and absurd observations about alien behavior. The rigid military hierarchy cannot process commands that include human sarcasm. Status report, Commander, reads one intercepted transmission. Human resistance continues. Also, why did the Vorthon cross the galaxy? To get to the other side. Please advise tactical response to this intelligence. The psychological impact is devastating. Vorthons begin second-guessing every communication, wondering if it contains hidden human infiltration. Officers start questioning whether their own computers have been compromised by human humor viruses. By the end of Day 4, the Vorthon fleet exists in a state of complete paranoia. They see human tactics everywhere, even in normal daily activities. A person walking a dog becomes a mobile reconnaissance unit. Children playing in parks become camouflaged infantry training exercises. General Kane realizes his forces are fighting an enemy that doesn't follow any known rules of warfare. Humans treat the invasion like a game, but somehow their playful approach is more effective than centuries of traditional military strategy. For the first time in Vorthon history, an invasion fleet considers retreat, not because they're outgunned, but because they can't understand what they're fighting against. General Kane. makes a desperate decision on the fifth day. He'll cut off all communication between his ships to prevent further human infiltration. This turns out to be exactly what humans were hoping for. Dr. Ross had predicted this move. Isolated units make individual mistakes, she explains to Admiral Rex. Their strength comes from coordination. Take that away, and they become vulnerable. Without fleet-wide communication, individual Vorthan ships begin making decisions based on incomplete information. Human teams exploit this by feeding different false intelligence to each vessel, creating a web of contradictory beliefs across the alien fleet. Captain Blake leads a coordinated effort to make each alien ship think. The others have been compromised. Using captured communication protocols, human teams send fake distress signals from Vorthan vessels, making it appear that human infiltrators have taken control. The paranoia spreads rapidly. Vorthan ship commanders, unable to verify information, with Fleet Command, begin treating other alien vessels as potential threats. The mighty invasion fleet starts pointing weapons at itself. Jake discovers something remarkable while monitoring alien communications. The Vorthans have never developed contingency plans for fighting multiple enemies simultaneously. Their entire strategic database assumes they'll face one unified opponent with predictable tactics. Instead, they're fighting millions of individual humans, each with different approaches. A Vorthan tactical computer, trying to model human behavior, has to process the strategies of everyone from military generals to suburban teenagers, creating an analytical nightmare. Tom's radio network launches Operation Babel, broadcasting fake human military chatter that makes it sound like Earth has dozens of different armies with conflicting orders. Vorthan intelligence officers, trained to look for centralized command structures, drive themselves to exhaustion trying to map a hierarchy that doesn't exist. The psychological campaign reaches new heights when humans begin displaying empathy for their attackers. Medical teams set up aid stations with signs in the Vorthan language, offering help to any aliens who want to defect. The psychological campaign reaches new heights when humans begin displaying empathy for their attackers. Medical teams set up aid stations with signs in the Vorthan language offering help to any aliens who want to defect. This concept breaks Vorthan understanding completely. In their experience, conquered species either surrender immediately or fight to the death. The idea of offering medical aid to invaders during active combat doesn't exist in their strategic databases. A group of teachers in Canada takes this further by creating educational materials about Vorthan culture and displaying them publicly. They organize Alien Appreciation Day in schools, with children making art projects showing peaceful coexistence between species. Vorthan psychological specialists, monitoring these activities, report to their commanders that humans appear to be experiencing mass psychosis. How else can they explain a species that responds to invasion by trying to understand their attacker's culture? The network effect becomes clear when Colonel Davis realizes that humans have accidentally created something the Vorthans can't counter. A distributed intelligence system where every individual contributes to the overall strategy without central coordination. A farmer in India notices that alien ships avoid flying over certain crops and shares this observation online. Within hours, farmers worldwide plant those same crops, creating safe zones across the planet. No government ordered this. It just happened through human networking. Meanwhile, Jake's cyber warfare evolves into something unprecedented. Instead of attacking Vorthan systems directly, he begins introducing human concepts that their computers can't process. Art, humor, love, sacrifice for others' benefit. Vorthan artificial intelligence systems, designed for logical military analysis, encounter human poetry and literally crash trying to find the tactical significance of metaphors. Love songs shut down alien threat assessment programs. Children's drawings of families overwhelm psychological warfare algorithms, and most devastating. Development comes when humans begin treating the invasion as a learning opportunity. Universities start offering courses in xenological defense strategies and practical alien psychology, turning warfare into education. Dr. Ross publishes her research on Vorthan technology in real time, sharing discoveries with anyone who wants to learn. Instead of keeping secrets, humans openly discuss their tactics, improving them through crowdsourced innovation. This transparency terrifies the Vorthans more than any weapon. In their culture, information is power, hoarded by commanders and shared reluctantly. Humans treat knowledge as something that grows stronger when shared freely. By day 5, the alien fall on the 6th day, General Kane makes a discovery that changes everything. While reviewing intelligence reports, he finds something that shouldn't exist: detailed files on Vorthan military history, tactics, and previous conquests, compiled by human researchers in just 5 days. Dr. Ross had led teams of historians, linguists, and analysts in the most intensive research project in human history. Using intercepted communications, observed behavior patterns, and pure deductive reasoning, they've essentially reverse-engineered Vorthan civilization. They're not evil, Dr. Ross explains to Admiral Rex. They're just limited. Every conquest followed the same pattern because it's the only pattern they know. They've never adapted because they've never needed to. The human research reveals something profound about the Vorthan Empire. They've conquered 17 star systems using identical tactics because every species they encountered responded predictably to overwhelming force. Until now, Captain Blake studies the analysis with growing amazement. They're not a military empire, he realizes. They're bureaucrats with big guns. Everything they do follows procedures written centuries ago. This revelation transforms human strategy completely. Instead of fighting the Vorthans, humans begin teaching them. Jake launches the most audacious hack in history. He doesn't try to damage Vorthan systems, but instead uploads human educational content directly to their networks. Alien computers suddenly receive crash courses in human history, art, philosophy, and scientific method. The effect on Vorthan crews is immediate and profound. Soldiers trained from birth to follow orders discover concepts like individual creativity, scientific curiosity, and moral choice. Their rigid worldview begins cracking under the weight of new ideas. Tom's radio teams stop broadcasting fake military intelligence and start sharing human music, poetry, and stories. They create the first interspecies cultural exchange program. While under active invasion, teaching Vorthans about concepts their language doesn't even have words for. The breakthrough comes when a young Vorthan communications officer named Vel makes an unauthorized contact with Earth, speaking haltingly. In learned English, he asks a question that stops everyone cold. Why do you help us learn when we came to destroy you? The answer comes from an unexpected source, a child named Lucy in New Zealand, who responds over amateur radio. Because that's what you do when someone doesn't know better. You teach them. This simple exchange, broadcast and recorded by both species, becomes the turning point of the entire conflict. Vorthan crews, listening to their own officer talking to a human child, begin questioning everything they've been told about other species. Colonel Davis recognizes the strategic implications. Immediately, we're not fighting their bodies, he tells his staff. We're fighting their assumptions. And assumptions can be changed. Groups of humans begin holding alien education sessions, broadcast directly to Vorthan ships. They explain human concepts, like democracy, individual rights, scientific skepticism, and cultural diversity. Not as weapons, but as gifts. Dr. Ross makes the most important discovery of all when she realizes why the Vorthan Empire has remained unchanged for centuries. They've systematically eliminated creativity from their culture, viewing it as inefficiency. Every innovation, every new idea, gets filtered through bureaucratic processes that remove originality. Humans, meanwhile, celebrate creativity as their greatest strength. The same chaotic individualism that makes human military coordination difficult makes human adaptation nearly infinite. The psychological revelation spreads through the Vorthan fleet like a virus. Soldiers begin asking forbidden questions. Why do we conquer others? What if there are better ways to expand our civilization? What if these humans are right about cooperation being stronger than domination? General Kane faces a crisis no military manual prepared him for. His own troops are becoming curious. Vorthan officers request permission to learn more about human culture. Scientists want to study human problem-solving methods. Even his security teams express interest in human concepts of individual dignity. The final blow to Vorthan certainty comes when humans begin sharing their own history honestly, including their mistakes. They broadcast documentaries about human wars, slavery, environmental destruction, and social injustice, then explain how they learned from these failures. Vorthan crews, raised to believe in the perfection of their empire, encounter a species that grows stronger through acknowledging weakness. Humans don't hide their flaws. They study them, learn from them, and use them to become better. By the end of Day 6, the invasion has transformed into something unprecedented in galactic history, an involuntary first contact situation where both species are learning more about themselves than each other. General Kane realizes he faces an impossible choice: complete his mission and destroy a species that's teaching his people to think, or find a way to end the conflict without admitting failure to his superiors. The decision will define both civilizations' futures. Asterisk on the 7th day, General Kane receives 2 communications that will determine the fate of 2 worlds. The first comes from the Vorthan High Command, ordering him to complete the conquest immediately or face court-martial. The second comes from his own crew, a formal request to open negotiations with the humans. Never in Vorthan history has a military crew question direct orders from High Command. But then again, no Vorthan crew had ever been exposed to human concepts of individual conscience and moral responsibility. Asterisk. Fleet faces an enemy they cannot comprehend, a species that gets stronger through cooperation, learns faster through openness, and treats their invasion as an opportunity for growth rather than a threat to survival. General Kane stares at reports showing human activity increasing rather than decreasing. His invasion has somehow made Earth's population more unified, more creative, and more determined than before he arrived. He begins to suspect that humans might be more dangerous than any species the Vorthans have ever encountered. Asterisk. Dr. Ross coordinates the final phase of human strategy, not an attack, but an invitation. Using every communication channel available, humans broadcast a simple message to the Vorthan fleet. We want to learn from you too. What can you teach? You? This question breaks General Kane completely. In centuries of conquest, no species had ever asked what Vorthans could offer beyond surrender or death. Humans are treating them as potential teachers rather than just invaders. Captain Blake organizes the most unprecedented military action in history. Human forces begin standing down voluntarily, removing weapons and defensive positions while maintaining communication with Vorthan ships. It's either the bravest or most foolish gesture ever made in warfare. The effect on Vorthan morale is devastating in an entirely unexpected way. Soldiers trained to fight armed resistance find themselves facing unarmed humans who want to shake hands and exchange knowledge. Every military protocol they know becomes useless. Jake makes the final breakthrough in interspecies communication when he manages to establish direct video links between human schools and Vorthan ships. Children from both species see each other, for the first time, and the result is exactly what humans hoped for. Young Vorthans, despite their rigid upbringing, cannot maintain hostility toward human children who wave and smile at them. The universal language of childhood curiosity transcends species barriers in ways no adult diplomacy could achieve. Officer, Vel becomes the bridge between civilizations when he makes an unauthorized decision that will change galactic history. Despite direct orders to maintain communication silence, he accepts a video call from Lucy, the New Zealand child who first asked why humans help their enemies learn. Their conversation, broadcast live to both fleets, becomes the moment everything changes. Are you really going to hurt people? Lucy asks. Vel struggles with concepts his language barely contains. We were ordered to make your species submit. But do you want to hurt people? The question hangs in space for long moments before Vel answers. No, I do not want to hurt people. This admission, heard by crews throughout the Vorthan fleet, breaks the psychological hold of Imperial doctrine. Individual Vorthans begin making individual choices for the first time in their lives. General Kane faces mutiny, but not the violent kind Vorthan military manuals describe. His officers simply stop following orders that conflict with their newly awakened consciences. They don't attack their commander, they just refuse to attack Earth. The crisis peaks when Admiral Rex makes the most dangerous gamble in human history. He orders all of Earth's defensive systems powered down and sends a single message to General Kane. We trust you to make the right choice. Displaying complete vulnerability to an alien invasion fleet requires either ultimate courage or ultimate madness. Human leaders choose to believe it's courage. Colonel Davis watches global defense networks go offline and whispers a prayer to whatever gods might protect species foolish enough to bet their survival on the better nature of their enemies. Moment of truth comes when General Kane must choose between following orders that violate his newly developed conscience or defying the empire that created him. His decision will determine whether the Vorthan Empire continues its path of conquest or begins learning a different way to exist in the galaxy. Standing on his command bridge, looking down at a blue world full of beings who responded to invasion, with education and trust, General Kane makes the choice that splits galactic history into before and after. He orders his fleet to stand down. The communication he sends to Vorthan High Command is brief. Mission parameters have changed. Request permission to begin diplomatic contact with local species. They have much to teach us. As both fleets power down their weapons, humans and Vorthans begin the first voluntary interspecies cultural exchange in galactic history. Earth becomes not just humanity's home, but the birthplace of a new way for civilizations to meet, through curiosity rather than conquest. The alien empire that attacked, Earth learned something they never expected. Sometimes the greatest victory comes not from defeating your enemy, but from discovering you don't need enemies at all. In the end, humans didn't fight like any species the Vorthans had encountered. They fought like teachers and won by turning invaders into students. The galaxy would never be the same? Asterisk.